Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu asyrafil anbiya mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. La hawla wa la quwata illa billah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Greeting of peace to everybody, members of the IIUM community, be it staff, student, and even members of the society around the university. I'm indeed delighted and thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to meet again in the move to welcome the new year of 2024. This is a very unique event as far as I'm concerned because we are just concluding our 40th anniversary of IIUM that began early this year and means to say that we are now moving into another quote-unquote period where we want to take the university away from what it used to be 40 years ago. By that I mean the university needs to look into what we have done in the last 40 years and see what else can we do to move forward to make the university a very unique one the way we want it, a very distinguished one, a very respectable one, and more importantly, the university that leads the way. This is something that I think the university has been building up for the last 40 years, and in the last 5 years, we have seen a number of things that we can do together to make the university indeed a very unique one. I would not want to go into the details of it, but certainly I think most of us would feel of where the university is now compared to what it was 4 or 5 years ago. There are many things that has happened. One is where we plan, the other one is almost unprecedented, and for that we are not unaccustomed to what has been happening in terms of the challenges in the future. The pandemic, I think, is a very good classical example that tells us that we need to be alert, we need to be agile, and we need to be prepared all the time in facing the future. The future may come in whatever shapes and sizes, and we are supposed to respond to it in the best way that we could. The pandemic gives us a number of lessons that this university is capable of doing that we have taken for granted in many ways, more than one. So I would want to recap by saying that we have worked together as a university for the last 4 and 5 years, beginning with working together in ensuring that the university survive in the way it should have as far as an institution of academic merits is concerned. We have worked together regardless of where we come from, what we believe, and even in the question of agenda. We work together very closely in a very spontaneous way, trying to build what the university ought to be for the next future. So all these are lessons that I hope you will keep in mind to ensure you and to also convince you that the university is well structured, well built, but we need to buttress it a little bit more because the challenges that we are going to face will be a very difficult one as we move on. So please be aware that we are now in a different mode of thinking. We are taking the university out of its own sedentary way of life. In other words, we are not just talking heads anymore. We are not just preaching and telling people what to do. We are also responsible in making sure that what we say is what we do. We make sure that we walk the talk. We make sure that we also are contributing at the same time rather than just giving ideas, theories, perceptions, and concepts. In that case, I think we all are now well trained in ensuring that the university will work together with the community around it as one of the bigger priorities compared to what it was before when we just talk about publication for the benefit of other people, which is sometimes not relevant to our society. The Usrah in action, I think, is a key point in what we have done in the last 3 years. And this year, I think we will organize the 4th symposium, which take the Usrah in action into another level to show that we are now have the capacity to work together as a university, focusing our thoughts and mind in trying to resolve the many issues that our society has been facing for a long time. Previously, I think we are probably not as sensitive as to what is happening around us, but I think now that sensitivity has been well magnified. We are now feeling responsible. The amanah that we talked about is part and parcel of our duty to convey what we need to convey to the community, and at the same time, learn from the wisdom that the community have had. In this respect, I would like to thank the student who has moved together with university, difficult as it was in the very first year, now coming to a level that everybody finds a kind of satisfaction within the courses or the discussion or even the project they are doing. Last year alone, we see more than 200 projects being presented to the university. Some of it are of unique in the sense that it solves the problem of the community that other people are beginning to recognize and also sponsor it. And I'm sure this year, when we do the symposium again in early January, we will see other experiences being expressed at the same time. I am focusing into this because the university has, in the last couple of months, built up its own idea of what the university ought to be. We call it, in short, a communiversity, a combination between the word community and university to make sure that these two exist together. There's no more boundaries between the community and the university. We exist in one, that we learn from each other, that we benefit from one another, and we also try to solve the problems that each of us are facing at one point or the other. This idea of common university now has caught on. Many people during our presentation in the last RCE Global Conference are fascinated with this idea, and many of us now are engaging them in trying to persuade them to understand what this common university is all about as an idea of what the university should be for a long time. And in this case, I think we are also lucky because during this particular period of time, the debate about ranking becomes a very important debate, not only covering us, but covering the whole world. When the United Nations University presented a report about ranking and have their own thoughts and idea of what ranking ought to be and what it should be. And therefore, this idea of a community becomes another alternative appraisal system that we would be able to move forward and reshape the university and truly lead the way not only for Malaysia but in the world to come. We have been engaging with many parties, we have been engaging with many bodies that has been expressing their interest of what the university ought to be moving forward in the future and for us, the next move for the 40th anniversary. I emphasize on this because this is one of the takeaways that the university has produced quite convincingly, and now we need to work together to provide more evidence of what the university should be and how it is run. And I think IIUM in this particular respect is at the forefront. Many universities abroad, including in the developed West, that claims to be the champion of education, now has been facing with a lot of problems. I would want to end by saying some of the problems are the problems of ethics, some of the problems are the problems of morality, some of the problems are the problems of basic justice, fairness and equity. We see these being laid out very openly when we talk about the onslaught of the Gaza massacre, according to some, or genocide, according to some, and how the double standards has been laid out to some people that talks about freedom of expression and action, but suddenly becomes limited only to one dominant section, not to the people who are oppressed, not to the people who have been suffering from a very asymmetric sort of a power exchange between the two parties. These are now a basic concern of many, and again the university is taking a very firm position that as far as autonomy is concerned, as far as rights is concerned, as far as justice is concerned, and also fairness, it has to be equally understood, equally distributed, and equally practiced. And this again is part of the community that we talked about. So on that note, I would like to leave you with this idea of where we should move forward, how we should do it. And there are a number of documents that I want you to remember. One is this document on IIM 2040, which basically delineates what we want to do in maybe about 13 or 14 years from now, and moving into the next realm of what the university ought to be. And also to refer you to the Sejahtera academic framework, where the word community was introduced, and now we are realizing it in a manner that I think is palatable to all. We will have another document, inshallah, very soon, called SDG 18, Spirituality, our contribution to make SDG a completely humanized sort of project, that spirituality becomes one of the dominant factors that binds us together across the world to make sure that humanitarian values, humanitarian dignity, and also humanity per se are well preserved in the way it should have been done. So on that note, I would like to thank you once again for all your contribution and count on you to work very hard so that we can move forward for the next 40 years or so, and make sure that the university becomes a place where people could share their ideas, where people could debate and also understand what is it that we want to do in making Rahmatan lil Alamin, the concept that we've been talking about, a reality in itself. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we will be given the blessing and also the guidance, and more importantly, the courage to make a difference, inshallah, in the pursuit of the greater good for the betterment of human life and civilization. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.